Yes, it took me quite a lot of reading.
Now, sir, actually the way we are doing this is we are recording and then I am uploading this content to YouTube as an unlisted lesson. If everyone feels that what we are conducting, we are able to follow, then I will open it to public.
Yeah, correct.
That's the idea.
Good idea. Good idea. I was so pleased when Arvind told me that you were discussing this book, because I've been an alone. Normally, what I do is I first skim a book, and then next time I read it to understand this. This damn thing, I've been skimming pages out again and again and again and again. I read it. Introduction itself took me so much long
And for those who are learning to understand spiritual tablets as a subject, right? This book is mandatory. Right. So let us start off. We will probably, yeah. So see, yesterday when we were talking about first to start with, when the body has to progress. Am I sharing the screen or I'm not? No, I don't think so.
No, sir, not yet.
Yeah. No, I thought I was sharing. So you are able
Yeah, now we can see.
right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Now let me hide this. This fellow causes lot of problems. Right. So
check if you've started recording.
Is the recording not started?
I don't think so. Just check once.
Are you not getting a red dot against my name?
It is started, sir. Recording is started.
Yes, it's recording.
चल रहा है सर, चल रहा है, रिकॉर्डिंग चल रहा है.
हाँ, चल रहा है ना. वो नहीं चल रहा है तो कल जैसा नहीं चाहिए.
हाँ, I know in the other batch. Yes, sir.
I know. Hi. So yesterday we went through when the soul has to purify itself. Sir, I will share all these maps with you.
Yeah, sure.
That will help. Right? Yeah. So when we really went to the depth of what happens at the time of death, right? What happens at the time of death is we are again preparing for the next breath.
By the way, if you don't mind interrupting,
sir,
I think you should have covered this already. The other issue there was, see, unlike what you have read earlier, he says you come to when the see, normally we say that the soul decides for an experience and it comes, etc. But according to him, there is an error, there's a mistake, or that creates an error, it creates a mistake or something like. And that's why it breaks out, the segments breaks out.
No. See, that one, sir, actually what happens is, right? Let us take this. So let's try to understand what is a soul.
Right.
Okay. So a soul is nothing but it is nature matter, sir.
Correct.
It is a nature matter which progresses from the stage of an element, right? Where is the diagram? I think that diagram is very critical to understand many of the chapters, right? Mishra ji, कहाँ गया अपना base diagram?
Right side.
ये नहीं, इसमें
ये.
Sir, actually,
yes, there, yeah.
This diagram is very, very critical for us to understand.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let us start with the known state. The known state, it is easiest to assume that we are all members of the realm of permanence.
Correct.
Okay. Now, if we start there, in the realm of permanence, let us understand what happens to us, right? In the realm of permanence, we are completely balanced entities. When we say balanced, we are living in a body that is immortal. It is a physical body, but it is immortal by nature. Because there is no Vishwamitra and Menaka story there. That means you are not succumbing to your feeling and desire.
Correct.
Your feeling and desire, along with, see, fundamentally, when you say Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, right? Think of the English expansion: generator, operator, destroyer. That is God.
Correct.
From perceiver's perspective, it is knower, thinker, doer.
Doer. Correct.
Okay. Now,
Correct.
how is this doer coming? Now, initially, what happens? Everybody is in perfect balance, sir.
Correct.
Then, going back to this diagram, right? In the intelligent part, you have the desirer. Okay. This desirer doesn't keep quiet. वो उंगल करता रहता है. He keeps
Correct.
sending Menaka to the Triune Self again and again, and expects Vishwamitra to be sitting there. Right? When I say Menaka, he is creating desire in the doer. Doer has got the feeling and desire. Correct? When this fellow triggers this guy, he succumbs to it. The moment, that is
That's where it
what.
comes in.
Huh?
That's what he says. Correct. That's what he says.
So the moment that happens, the perfection in the body is lost. Okay.
Correct.
Now, interestingly, it is for us to understand this way. So there is the form, correct? And this form is one component, which is the one that is progressing from its consciousness stages, becoming more and more brighter. When I say more and more brighter, it means it is developing more and more radiance. Now, the process of purification from, where is the diagram again?
Just
See, the
upar hai,
process
sir, right
of
side.
purification is in each of the elements of fire, air, water, and earth. They have to pass through the stages of refinement from fire to refined radiance, from air to perfection of the air path. Each of these have to go to the highest level within that sphere for it to eligible to move to the next sphere. This is the ground rule.
Correct.
Correct. Now, the form is there, the breath is there. Both of them are always there in all these. Only thing is they have not yet opened up. That opening is something that happens when you ultimately go and reach your triune self. Because you have become impure,
Correct.
it is the doer in the body supported by the knower and thinker to clean you and make your body, restore your body to the state such that all of them can live happily together in the realm of permanence.
Correct.
So if you have to do that, you have to pass through this stage of progression, not evolution. So this progression, this unit that is progressing is that unit which we later on come to understand that it is one aspect, which we call the passive element. And for the progression to take place, you require the active element.
Correct.
Right? Now, what is the job of the active element? Active element is to create a body, sustain and repair that body around the form for the actual progression to happen. So when the form and breath come together, it becomes breath form. Otherwise, form and breath are two independent entities. In this evolution, when breath and form, as the change is taking place, when the breath and form come together, you are at the highest level of the nature matter stage. From the state of an element, you have become element and breath together. Where is that breath coming from? We will get to that in a little while, right? So that breath is nothing but the mixture of all the airs as it refines. So you have breath on one side, form on the other. That breath form, and when the breath and form join together, the doer, that is the doer from the triune self joins, and you start moving towards the intelligent self. That becomes the soul.
Right.
Right? So that is the starting point of the soul. Correct? Now, once the soul is formed, what is the soul? It is the breath on one side, form on the other, active and passive. Correct?
Correct.
This breath form, when it enters the child, how it enters also he explains. Right? That becomes the living soul in the body. How is the living soul created? We may be interested. Correct? So what he says is, now this breath and form, one more parameter that we need to remember. Right? So when we come to this breath and form, right, it is important to understand that form is the soul. So look at this very subtle way he has built this structure. Form is the soul. The soul has to be perfect. When it was perfect originally, as part of the triune self, because the triune self contains three elements: doer, thinker, knower, and each of them belongs to one atmosphere and one world. Doer is from the form world, thinker is from the life world, knower is from the light world. All these three with the physical world becomes the human world. Right? So now this form that is in a perfect shape, which was balanced, which consisted of all units that were completely balanced. Right? This perfect balanced, this one was occupying a body. That body is a physical body which was immortal. And it was part of the realm of permanence. Now, realm of permanence itself is the creator for, or the you can say that is the dwelling for the perfect triune selves, who, whenever they are tested frequently for their radiance, they have to keep progressing. They cannot digress. As they progress, they occupy what you call the government. right?
Yeah.
This becomes the government which is going to govern all the entities in all these four worlds, four phases, four worlds, four stages, four planes, and four substates, right? And anything that has to manifest has to come from these four plus the earth. वो चार component है ना,
Yes.
they become the basis for any manifestation. Correct. So now this form which has to progress, right, and has to go through life after life for its cleansing process is actually decided by thoughts. So these thoughts become the destiny.
Right.
Thoughts of people who are alive, thoughts of people who are no more, thoughts of people who are yet to be born. These thoughts is, right? These thoughts create the shape of the form. This form is something that is consistent, that is the soul. Till the perfection is achieved, it has to keep on, and the material that does that filter is nothing but the human body, which enables that purification to happen. So, right, for some of you, this is a repetition of yesterday. Please bear with us. Right? Every human body that comes into this world is fashioned in its mother. There are two ways to read the word mother. One is the form aspect, and the mother which is nurturing this form aspect. So this form aspect is sitting in the mother. Now, when this form, when the mother is ready, the mother, right, gets this form joined with her breath. That is when the conception takes place. And using the mother's breath, this form is developing. Because whenever there is breath, the form will keep on taking the role of getting fashioned in line with the pattern that is defined by the form. So we may probably, though it is not mentioned till now, my own understanding has been that this form is very similar to the DNA, which is defining the form for the way the proteins have to be pulled up together to create our favorite diagram, right? Which starts with atoms coming together, atoms then becoming molecules, molecules becoming chemicals. This is the changing information that is exchanging the fields of information that is creating the cells. From the cells, a group of cells coming together, forming a tissue, a group of tissues forming an organ, and a group of organs forming a system and a function, and that becoming the body. Right? So this is the transformation from the, becoming supernatural of Joe Dispenza. Now let us keep this concept in our mind, and now look at what is happening. So the form has come, form is available. The breath is giving it, form is giving the shape, breath is giving it the ability to happen. That means it is interacting. The breath is like the information that is coming from all the atmosphere surrounding, and that is helping create the, basically creating the conception to happen. once the conception is happening, right? The form is and throughout. Now, sorry, I think I jumped to two boxes. Yeah. In accordance to the form, the soul which enters her body through her breath and causes the conception of the body which is to be fashioned. Right? So now what is happening at birth? I mean, the child has grown, it has finished its gestation period. The child is now coming out of the womb. The moment the child is born, the umbilical cord, which is the placenta and all that, that is not cut off immediately. The physical birth of the child becomes very important. So the breath has to enter the child so that it can take over its function. As because it is consciously there only for building that body. So now what happens with that breath, right? The breath of the breath form enters the infant's body. And in the heart, it unites with the form aspect and then it becomes the breath form. Right? Now look at the interesting part. Thereupon, this breath form performs its function. Now, here, please understand, breath form together has that consciousness of being the unintelligent one, right? As the living soul of the body. So, as its consciousness keeps increasing, it progresses along the intelligent side. Right? The form is, and throughout the lifetime, will be the type or pattern in accordance with which the living breath of the breath form will build out into a visible structure the units of nature matter. Okay? When you say visible structure, there is a pattern, there is the atmosphere. What is this atmosphere giving it the breath? Which is namely, right, this nature matter that is getting built is the solid, fluid, airy, and radiant environments of which that changing body is composed. You see, these are the elements that are sitting inside the human body. Now the quantum physics explanation. Quantum physics defines us to be consisting of fluids, material, information, fields, right? Light particles. This is the explanation to that. Clear? Right? Okay, now another important input that we need to have is the entire doer of the body, right, is only one part of the 12 different sections that it consists of. Right? Where did we cover that? Yesterday we covered it, right? Yeah, here. Right? So the doer in the body actually has 12 units. Out of the 12 units, right, the doer in the body is only one of the 12 portions of the entire doer. See, he says that a portion of the doer.
Segment comes into.
He comes and occupies the AIA unit to move it and give the animal body. The body is consistent, remember, from the stone to animal, that progression is happening. Right? Now, that doer, when it enters the body, he converts it to a human being. And upon death, or what are the 12 portions that we need to remember? When we are alive, it is during this span of life, it is life of the physical body section. What is life equal to? It is the living soul in the body. Go one level below. What is that? It is the breadth and form. The form that is getting refined. Then that definition, and there are thoughts which are equivalent to your karmic baggage. Right? So now this entire spine of life, this one, there is a birth line and there is a death line. After death, what happens? This entire cycle is 12 different stages of purification, again and again, again and again. And in each life, one of these parameters will be selected. Right? Now, sir, this being the complete process, now let us visit the question that you are raising. Jagdish sir.
Yeah. To the point, no. Actually, that my interpretation was it's practically the same, but what where you said was how this particular segment gets into the form. The same cycle, at some point in time, what happens? Where you said, this the form and the breath take phase, and then this particular segment, the last one, the side, it drops into the human body. What is the form body? That's the way he talks about. That's the way that's what I was talking about.
So now, only when the doer fellow drops in, that body transforms from animal body to human body.
Correct.
That is the explanation he is giving us. Right? So now, right? What are these 12? Sir?
If I can just add this, if
Yeah.
you're familiar with the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this story of the Puranjara. There also, there is this, he doesn't say this is a king. Okay. He goes on experiencing several kingdoms and then moves into this palace. This palace is nothing but the human body.
Correct. You are very right. Yes, yes.
Similar to that. Yes.
So, that is one milestone of purification. That is why the word swan.
Right.
Right. So, now, conceptually, we need to look at what is happening during these 12 stages, right? That is what he is trying to explain. The circle of the lowest section represents the physical life on earth.
Correct.
Okay. Then you have got the large circle symbolizes the psychic atmosphere of the doer, which is that this is the full cycle. Now, what is psychic atmosphere consisting of? Yesterday we discussed.
Psychic is only the doer, sir. The doer is related to the psychic atmosphere, right?
No, that is fine. But he is permitted by some other atmospheres.
Farm world?
No, the neotic.
He has the form world, that is the psychic atmosphere, but he is permitted by the other worlds.
Oh,
which
the other world
influence
was life world and life world.
Life world, yes. Right. So now.
No, sir, hold on. When you say atmosphere, it is not the world. When you say atmosphere, it will be mental and neotic atmosphere, which will influence
There are three entities.
Sir,
for
those
the
are not atmosphere, those are the worlds.
Sir, I am coming to that only. The triune self has a world of its own. It has 3 atmospheres and 3 breaths. That is what I said. Did I put a note saying that we have to complete the triune self?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
it has 3
take
parts.
it from the perspective of the sphere of earth, it is permitted by the form world, life world, and the light world. They themselves have got the atmospheres and the corresponding breaths. Okay. So the structure structurally they are very similar in nature. That is what we need to remember. Correct. See, the psychic relates to the form world. Right? But what about the atmospheres? Atmospheres are permitting all this, right? Yesterday we saw that, no? In the diagram also. Correct. So now we need to understand what is happening. Right? Then you have got 5 circles on the left that refer to the stages. Which are those? See, this is the birth related, this is the death related. After death, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th one is a resting place. Right? Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th one is a culmination point of beginning of life. Okay. So now, so that is how they are distributed. So now let us take the large circle that symbolizes the psychic atmosphere of the doer. From the center to the circumference, the 12 lines enclose sections which represent the stages of the symbolic roadway through which each doer portion in its turn passes successively after death from its life on earth to its next re-existence. Right? Right. Now let us look at the smaller circles. The circles of the lowest section represents the physical life on earth. Which is that circle? The lowest section ये है. ठीक है? यहाँ क्या होगा? The opposite and the highest circle represents the heaven period of happiness. The 5 circles on the right represent the after death stages through which the doer portion passes to prepare it for its period of happiness. Okay. The lowest line on the right separating the circles is the line or gate of death. At the moment of death or at the moment of birth, the breath of the breath form enters the first gasp and breath unites with its form in the heart. Right? ये हो रहा है. अब यहाँ पे देखो. This is what is happening as far as the birth process has taken place between birth and death. यहाँ पे बैठा है वो stages. The 5 circles on the left represent the stages through which the doer portion passes on its return journey for its re-existence in the lowest circle. As an appearance on the earth stage of physical life. The lowest line on the light separating the circle is the line of the gate of, line or the gate of birth. So, wo circle mein, right? So here, what he has said, right? So your life of death starts here. उसके बाद में आपका क्या चल रहा है each stage में? The doer is passing through all these stages, and at this point he is taking rest. Then his older thoughts, which were post judgment and all, those thoughts that have to be still corrected, right? यहाँ पे planning चालू हो गया, pre-birth plan. The first trimester में mother के साथ engagement, who is going to do what they want to achieve and all, and then the building up of the corresponding structure, the scene layout and all that, and then the physical birth. So that is how we should read the whole thing. Any questions from anyone?
So the pattern that get decided in that thought of life area, right?
Correct. No, no, not only thought is one input, sir. See, in the thoughts also, now think about a corporate organization. There is individual performance. In the appraisal cycle, there is, right? See, there is, in the first stance, there is the individual performance that dovetails into the group performance, that dovetails into the company's performance. Before that, probably if it is an organization spread across, then it will become the performance of your branch, your department in the corporate and your department in the branch. So there are various modes of these things getting achieved. The collective thoughts also influence your subjective life of re-existence. So that is what is the, if you take Robert Squad's inputs at this stage, then if we combine the two from whatever we have been learning till now, if we take the input from the sets, you create your personal reality. All these things are going in as thoughts. It is these thoughts, collective, then there is also a thought in repercussion, in retrospect. What is the thought in retrospect? There are other bodies in the environment. They also have thoughts. So we have to not ignore any of these thoughts. They are all part and parcel. And who is responsible to balance the thought that it has created? The responsibility lies with the creator. Okay, so all these thoughts are going there. आपका आकाशिक record में बैठा है. Whatever you think is already registered in the Akashic record. That is why the Council of Elders, from your soul's plan, your soul's gift, if you read, there he explains. So you are sitting with this one, what do you want to achieve? Right? They will help us either increase our target or reduce our target. What we have not, whatever mistakes we have made while learning when on the earth, they are also part of the thoughts. All this is in our, what do you call, Upanishads or whatever we call, this is your karmic baggage that you are taking. But everything, the root cause, if we apply the principles that we are now reading, it becomes your thoughts. It is the thought energy. आपका responsibility आप पूरा करो, मेरा responsibility मैं पूरा करता हूँ. लेकिन करना तो बिल्कुल जाहिर है. कोई किसी को, कोई अपने आप से बच नहीं सकता है. Right? So that is what is forming this entire cycle. So how we are planning our life also is coming to a better understanding. Correct? Sir, anything you want to add here?
No. It's in fact, as I told you, what is interesting to me, even as you are explaining it, is unlike other books, you experience every these things.
You experience because stage by, see, you are dealing with the fundamentals and the foundation.
Absolutely, and that is what is very profound. That's what makes me keep going on back and back. And see, I never read a book, but this is a book which I keep going back and back and back.
But that is how the book is also organized.
Right.
And all this is very important to me as a spiritual counselor, because when a patient comes to me, I have a lot more clarity.
Correct.
When I have to explain to him, hey friend, you have created your problem. I may not tell it on his face saying that you are responsible for what you have created. But I can tell him that this is how the universal plan is, right? In this time, we don't know. So we need to apply the principles of surrender, principles of acceptance, and so on and so forth. And that is how you heal yourself.
You're right.
right? So you're combining all of them, but this lays this solid foundation that is very essential. Yeah. So let us go back and continue. Right. So now, having followed this 12 steps, let us today cover even on the intelligence side, what do you have? Right? So let us start with what is this triune self? Triune self, imagine that it is an entity which consists of three worlds: the light world, life world, form world. It has got three components, which is the knower, thinker, doer. It is the sphere of psychic, the atmosphere of the psychic, mental, and neotic. So what are that? Well, what do you get if you break down the atmospheres? You will get the corresponding breaths. So let us see how to read this and how to understand this. Right? So let us start this. Yeah. A triune self has three parts, three atmospheres, and three breaths. It belongs to the intelligent side. So the moment you have had the doer dropping in to enable your next stage, that is, you have come to breath form. Breath and form have united. Till then, they were progressing independently, right? So what happens? The psychic or doer part has got a passive and active. Incidentally, we were making a mistake when it came to I-ness and selfness. We were thinking the other way around, right? So the passive aspect is feeling and the active aspect is desire, right? Then when it comes to the neotic atmosphere or the neotic part or the knower part, right? Its atmosphere is the neotic atmosphere, which is consisting of the I-ness and selfness, right? I-ness is the one that is progressing. The active fellow is your ego. Selfness is equal to your ego, right? Now, yesterday I was making a mistake in this explanation. I stand corrected, right? The mental or thinker part, right? The thinker part, knower, I mean a doer, knower, and thinker. He has got the rightness on one side and the reason on the other side, right? Now, these have to be your actions. Suppose there is an action that is taking place, there is a thought that is taking place. The reason and the rightness, when all the units are able to demonstrate it, then it becomes balanced. But they cannot be in isolation. We will come to that also. Each part is an atmosphere. Thus, there are three psychic, mental, and neotic atmospheres of the triune self, which relate to the form world, the life world, and the light world, respectively. Further, right, through each atmosphere, a portion of that atmosphere flows as breath. Remember this, right? And how does the breath build? Because it has got all the four elements within it, which are physically manifesting, which is the background, which is behind, and which is the reason why the manifestation happens. So then, through each atmosphere, a portion of that atmosphere flows. It is not complete, only a portion flows, right? As breath. Just as there are currents which move in the air and which are the air, yet at the same time distinct from the air of that complex triune self. Because triune self is a mixture of all three, right? Only a portion of the doer part exists in the human body. It governs the body mechanism by means of the voluntary nervous system. Now you see, right? And that portion of the doer part has its station in the kidneys and adrenaline or adrenals. This is what I said we had not completed. Is this clear now?
Right, sir, right.
Right? Bala ma'am?
Yeah, it is clear. So basically, to each atmosphere, a portion of the atmosphere flows as a breath. So that
So there are
that
three
each,
breaths, and when it
Yeah.
comes to the physical world, these three are in combination with the physical world, the physical atmosphere of the human world.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So there is further. So now the atmosphere of the triune self is the cycle. This is what I just put it just for the sake of relating and remembering. Now, what happens? Let us. No, we have not completed that. We'll complete that and come. Right? On the other side of this atmosphere as the air passes, the other two parts of the triune self. So, these three parts may only one part is coming to the earth.
The doer part.
Correct. And the doer part is controlling the body through, it is controlling the voluntary functions. The voluntary nervous system is under the control of the doer.
Through the kidneys and adrenals.
Kidneys and adrenal. Those two, that is where it houses itself. Okay. Now, the other two parts of the triune self are not in the body. So where are they?
They are in the
They are
form.
in the yes, other two atmospheres.
Huh?
Other two
atmospheres.
But they are in the realm of permanence.
Correct. They are in touch with us.
Correct.
So are they in the form world, in the radiant world, in the light
No,
world?
they belong to those worlds.
Okay. So,
But
but
all
they
of
are
them
permanent.
are permeating the earth. Remember that.
Okay.
Okay. So the lower part barely contacts the rear half of the pituitary body and the pineal body in the brain. That is where the knower is touching in the human formation. See, kidneys and adrenaline are part of your voluntary function, and that is controlled by the doer part.
I think in the voluntary function, the end function is the kidney and adrenal, where the doer sits. It operates from the brain to the kidney and adrenal. So that's
where it operates, we will come. Let us not try to bring our existing knowledge anywhere close by. We will follow faithfully what he is taking us through.
Okay.
Otherwise, we are liable to get confused. Right? So, here, what is happening? The doer part, a portion, matlab, one of those 12 stages. Right? That is occupying, and the mechanism that is driving it is by virtue of sitting in the kidneys and the adrenals. The other two parts of the triune self are not in the body, but merely contact it. The knower part barely contacts the rear of the pituitary body and the pineal body in the brain. Okay? And the thinker part. So knower is with the pituitary and the pineal. Okay? So in the head cavity, you have these two fellows. When we took the human body, he said 4 cavities, right? The head, the thoracic, the pelvic, and one more I forgot. Correct. So
Sir,
now,
abdominal cavity किसमें आता है sir? Pelvic and abdominal is one and the same, sir.
No.
What, sir?
so we have 4 cavities. I don't recall the 4th one.
The abdominal one would come before the pelvic.
Correct. But in the cavities in the body, abdomen, is it a cavity?
Yes.
Abdominal
I
cavity
remember, sir.
means,
It's a cavity, no, sir.
Okay.
where the viscera is
that is the
there.
4th one that I keep forgetting. Okay.
If I remember, pelvic is a different cavity from the abdominal.
Yeah, abdomen will come
Sir,
before
sir, there are 4 cavities which the human body is formed by.
Right.
The first one is the head.
Yes.
The second one is the thoracic.
Thoracic.
the lungs and
abdomen.
The third one should be the abdomen, and the 4th one is the
Third
pelvic.
one should be pelvic. Yeah.
Correct. Right. We can always confirm. We will revisit, because if this chapter is understood, the rest of the book is easy to follow. Yeah. So, right now, the thinker part contacts the heart and lungs. Right. So how does that diagram look? In the nervous system, right? The voluntary and involuntary. So we are talking about the voluntary. And where is it sitting? In your nervous system, the way it is developing also is the brain and spinal cord and all. That build-up he has to yet take us through that walk. Then the voluntary nervous system is the movement and muscles and all that. That is sitting with the adrenaline and this one. So autonomic कहाँ पर आएगा? I need some biological student to explain this. Jasbir ma'am.
Yes, sir.
ये आपका सब्जेक्ट है ना?
Yes, sir.
हाँ समझाइए.
है तो. So this is basically explaining the entire nervous system. जैसे तो CNS जो है, as you've already given the diagram, that's the brain and the spinal cord, right?
Correct.
Then the peripheral में आएगा the entire nervous system जहाँ पे हमारे neurons वगैरह आ जाते हैं.
Cerebral.
Yeah. So somatic is all the body parts, voluntary movement or skeletal somatic जो जिससे हम body movement
ये पूरा आपका doer in the body handle करेगा.
Yes, sir.
ये जो involuntary है,
Autonomic हो
ये
गया.
becomes part of your central nervous system, is it? Controlled by the brain and pineal and all that.
So that is actually the hormones and all our secretions and all, na, how they.
Okay, we will come to that and we will go by the book. Forget it. Okay? वो diagram को छोड़ो. The triune self contacts the voluntary nervous system as a whole. The thinker of each human is his individual divinity. और divinity कहाँ बैठा है? Heart and lungs में. Okay? So now the other side of this story. An overview of breath form and AIA. See, when it is in the nature form, breath form, it is an automaton and is the means of communication between the triune self and nature. और triune self का purification के लिए there needs to be a communication, right? Right? So the nature unit of the form prior to conception, that is the automaton. Right? And
Automation.
automaton.
It's automaton. Okay, I see. Okay.
Okay, what is automaton? So that you are not confused. A moving mechanical device made in imitation of a human being. A machine
I see.
performs a range of functions according to a predetermined set of coded instructions used in comparisons to refer to a person who seems to act in a mechanical or emotional way.
रोबोट हो गया क्या?
हाँ, रोबोट हो गया, लाइफ नहीं है उसमें.
Oh,
An
like
example
robot.
of a
Yeah.
typical automaton is a pendulum clock.
A machine.
So we sense and we give information, it gets stored in the memories and we work in an automated mode.
Correct, correct.
So it's a predetermined set of coded instructions. Okay.
See, an automaton is relatively self-operating machine or control mechanism designed to automatically follow a sequence of operations, respond to predetermined instructions. Okay? So it is a component. That means the breath form prior to conception, that means in the absence of the breath form, right? It is the nature side is an automaton, right? Always interact with the other components. Which one? Yeah. So the AAA unit always interacts with the other components, revivifies, or that is, gives new life or vigor to the nature unit that is coming as a form. That is one of the functions, right? And the other function on the intelligent side, right? यहाँ पे breath जो काम कर रहा है वो बताया breath form का. यहाँ पे AIA is on the intelligent side, right? So the intelligent side, that is the base starting point, because this is at the starting point of the base, right? On the intelligent side, AIA is the starting unit. AIA is a dimensionless part of the psychic atmosphere of the doer, belonging to the triune self. क्लियर? ये क्या है करके हम लोग सोच रहे थे, अभी समझ में आया ये क्या है?
So it's part of the psychic atmosphere, which is dimensional. Yeah, there is no.
See, it is a part of the psychic atmosphere of the doer.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it has got no dimension.
Yeah.
It belongs to the triune self. It always interacts with the breath form. And it gives life or vigor to the nature unit. That means यहाँ पे फॉर्म आया, breath form का activity life जो है यहाँ से आता है. That is coming from the function that is being performed by the AIA unit. ठीक है? We will stop with this today. Yeah, are we missing something? Do we need to discuss something? Let us come back so that we will see whether there are any practical examples we can identify.
There are two things. I
Yes,
think
sir.
we need to discuss a little more about the AIA because
Right.
it's very fundamental out there. The AIA is what ultimately helps you to move to the next. It's the intelligent part, right?
Correct. Correct.
This is what helps you to move. I think for next time we'll discuss a little about the AIA.
Yeah, we
Also,
will.
another thing that impresses, at least me, I told you this all more experience. So when it talks about when the thinker of the triune self goes into your hearts and lungs. Now, so it is not though the doer is forgotten, it doesn't completely forget, does not lose that. There we sometimes get that feeling of that I not this I don't know that there is something, but he doesn't know what it is.
Sir,
That feeling is
that
coming
he
from there.
explains. He
Right,
explains in the next section. When you
right.
go to the units, that is was what causes a feeling in us that we are lost. We many a
Absolutely,
time feel that we don't belong here.
exactly.
There is
But we don't know
always
why. We don't know why.
Huh. No. So when he is explaining thoughts, he says those are because of your separation from the triune self. So when we revisit the units independently,
Correct,
when we revisit the units independently, that parameter that sir is raising is covered.
correct.
Do you want to do that now?
I think it needs time. I think we need a little more discussion.
I
We
know.
should do
Correct.
it. That's why.
Uh,
Let's not jump
Yeah.
out. It
can I
was
say
very
something?
profound. To me, it was very profound.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, tell me.
Yes, sir. When we were discussing, like when you said that the part of the doer which is in the human body and the rest part is not in the human body, and we understood it by like the kidney and the adrenal we related to the doer, and the heart and lungs to thinker, and the pineal and the pituitary to the knower. Somehow involuntarily it connects to our own, like we've understood the chakras and the energy centers, how from the physical form we cross the heart and then we go towards, like we point the arrow downwards for the first three chakras, that is the survival, that becomes the physical. Somehow we can just relate it a little. I mean, it becomes easier to
No, you
understand.
can. You are right. Actually, your involuntary functions, which we have not covered, are through energy centers at defined points.
Yes.
Those energy centers, right, are vortexes of energies which you are referring to as chakras. Are you
Can I,
getting
can
it?
I add?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
No, you know what is interesting? Quran says the same thing about us.
Yes.
Quran says exactly the same thing about them.
Sir, he has actually, what he has experienced, he has written in the book, but he has gone through the entire, this one, from the Theosophical Society of India. If you read, I don't recall that book. There is a book by Madam Blavatsky.
Yeah. Which
I
book
found
read?
it by accident.
The main book. Yeah, okay. Because I was a theosophist. I used to attend
I am
regular.
from the Theosophical High School
Okay.
in Chennai. That's where I
Okay. Oh,
lived
yeah,
and
I did
breathed
it.
my life.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yesterday I gave a
So
talk.
what does Quran say, sir?
TV.
Jagdish sir, what does Quran say?
The same thing.
Quran says exactly about this energy. Same thing. He says the throat of Allah, he opened here, thing, and pushed it down here, and another two goes up here.
And
Exactly as we see.
his interpretation of all these religions also is very profound.
Right.
The way he explains the religions and its impact, right? It is very profound. He says there are two driving principles why the religion says what it says. Right? One is probably because of the ruling governments and their vested interests is one of the cause. The second one is because of the fear of misuse of these powers. Both these. And if we try to extend this after coming to this spiritual journey. I've been reading a lot about this Atlantis and that civilization, right? Overnight, the civilization was buried.
Right.
Overnight. And corresponding around the same time, our 12-strand DNA was changed to 2-strand by making a modification.
This is all mentioned in Bringers of the Dawn.
Yes, this is there in Ringers of the Dawn, yes.
And,
Right.
and
And it is there in some other article also. Because those days, with the inquisitiveness was such that anything that word can throw through Google, I used to absorb them.
and Judy Sartoria also, they
Yes,
had
Judy
books.
Sartoria also takes us through that. That book is by Judy Sartoria.
Yeah. No,
Right.
no. The first book is from Barbara Marciana.
Yeah.
Barbara Marciana is the
Somebody,
Bringers of
because
the
I've read both the books and Judy refers to that book.
Yeah.
So
But
now
they also mentioned Mu also. There are two, Atlantis and Mu.
Correct. And when I was researching, I found that some of the complex mechanical equipment we see today is actually a replica of what was used in Atlantis. Right? So they were that advanced. And there the average height was 7 feet.
Yeah, because some of them, especially the Arcturians, are 14 feet.
Yes, right. And the other side of the story is probably the change in the DNA itself is the result of our getting dwarf. And if you listen to Ray Chandran, very interesting. He says in one of his lessons, one of his talks, he says that the entire DNA, right from the day the soul was formed and all its lifetime, is sitting in our pineal gland. The pineal gland has got 12 seeds. One of those seeds is the one which has got all of this, and that is the pineal gland. There are 12 seeds sitting in that area. And one of them has got a record of your soul from day one till now.
Oh, that's Akashic record.
That is replicated in the Akashic record. Akashic record even has that of the environment, every thought. This
Collective.
is also,
Okay.
which is also part and parcel of the Akashic. Right? So that is where the entire universe has got built. But today my concept, because of this book, has got my stand much better and clarified to a very great extent.
Yeah. Yeah,
I will
he's
stop the
taking
recording if there are no important questions, because if it is general gossip, then we better not record that.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.